The vast majority of the global population adores and relies on technology, as it makes our lives infinitely easier than decades before. Inventions created by media convergence such as the mobile phone, computer and internet among many more have uncovered a limitless amount of possibilities. Then coupled with the ever-increasing ease of use, you reach a point where you wonder, is technology actually so good that it's bad for us? Not just mentally, but also physically, as we become more and more dependent on technology day by day. In this documentary, I will be exploring the effects of technology convergence and to find out if technology is as bad as we think it can be, and does it really impact our bodies.
Now, British women are apparently the fattest in Europe, according to new figures. An EU agency which looked at 19 countries found nearly a quarter of UK women were obese. That's a higher proportion than in other countries like Germany, despite their love of strudels. And men fared little better. Just over 22% were classed as obese, second only in the survey to those hitherto unheralded trenchermen, the Maltese.
We've all heard that too much technology use can leave us addicted or dependent on it, but can it physically harm us?
Is technology having a negative impact on you or your friends or your family? Why do we ask ourselves that question? Well, technology is disruptive. It changes the way we do things. It changes how other people do things. And psychologically, that can make us feel quite uncomfortable because everything's changing around us and we like to know where we are. And at the same time, if you think about the technologies that you've all got in your pocket, like your smartphones or your tablets, your use of social media, you know, how much choice do you have? If you don't use these technologies, you get carried away. You know, other people use them and then you're left out, so you're kind of dragged along regardless. For video games cause violence. The vast majority of scientists would argue that video games do not cause violence. In fact, if you look at violent crime statistics based on when video games first appeared, violent crimes come down.
The most recent of these seemingly make your life lazier apps is Postmates and Uber Eats. These apps allow you to submit an order to a stranger to essentially do your shopping and get your dinner. They then bring it to your house, where you can pay them and boom, you're instantly lazier. This can't be good for your health, can it? We've all seen and probably felt the impact of technology on our mentalities. We become addicted to our favourite TV shows, we never stop thinking about what we're going to be doing in our spare time, and the outcome is usually technology based. For example, gaming, video calling or messaging a friend, or TV binging.
You know, some people save up a whole week's worth of my show and then watch him over the weekend. It's called binge watching, otherwise known as being a shut-in. How many people do that? How many people binge watch shows? I do too. It's the new way to watch TV because a lot of shows release the entire season at once. And anybody binge watching the House of Cards, that Netflix series, House of Cards? Yeah. Yeah, what about Orange is the New Black? Yeah. Arrested Development, anybody? Who hasn't seen their family in 3 months? I think binge watching is good because you can watch at your own pace, but it's bad, really, because everyone watches at different times, you know? So it might be your first episode of House of Cards, but I already know that everyone dies at the end. No, I'm kidding, not everyone. But
This mentality can affect our physical health, as we tend to not leave our house as much when we're under the spell of painfully addictive and enjoyable TV shows. As a result of us not leaving our house as much due to entertainment and all our daily needs being either available from our homes or able to send to our home, this can have a serious impact on our health. The majority of people, and namely teens, have become very obsessed with their mobile phones or other mobile devices, as they have endless amounts of entertainment at the end of their fingertips. They can play games, watch videos, and binge the same Netflix and Amazon Prime shows that they've already binged on TV. It's pretty amazing how much tech has been crammed into mobile devices. We also become addicted to talking to our friends and making friends. As a collective, our youth are more aware but also more vulnerable and insecure than ever. They cling to their phone and their social media for validation from their peers and who they deem popular. This can become toxic very quickly and result in a very warped and unrealistic outlook on life.
So you take this group of people and they graduate school and they get a job and they're thrust into the real world, and in an instant they find out they're not special, their mums can't get them a promotion, that you get nothing for coming in last, and by the way, you can't just have it because you want it. right? And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. So you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations, right? Through no fault of their own, right? They were dealt a bad hand, right? Now let's add in technology. We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine. That's why when you get a text, it feels good, right? So, we've all had it where you're feeling a little bit down or feeling a bit lonely, and so you send out 10 texts to 10 friends, hi, 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 because it feels good when you get a response, right? Right? It's why we count the likes, it's why we go back 10 times.
We also can't forget how much technology impacts our daily life. It's how almost everyone gets to and back from work due to paying electronically, calling people and organising, using it as an alarm, working at your job or on your computer, and the list goes on. We use technology for almost every task in this modern era. Also, technology isn't all bad for your health. There's been studies run that suggest that games increase reaction times, problem solving and hand-eye coordination skills. Gaming addiction is quickly becoming a diagnosable condition. Is this justifiable? And do games really make us more violent? This has been a debatable topic for many years, but the common consensus in the past few years seems to be that there is no link between violent games and real-life violence.
But why are you not worried about it?
Well, I mean, I'm not supremely worried about it just because the consumption of these violent video games has been going up continuously since the early 90s, and yet youth violence has been going down since the early 90s. The correlation actually doesn't fit. As far as individual instances, I mean, you can find patterns in very sporadic instances among virtually all data sets, but there's some pretty mixed data about this. It's true that the American Psychological Association recommends that parents not allow their kids to play these games. I wouldn't let my kids play these games because I think they're immoral, frankly, but that should really be up to parents. I'm not sure the government should be in the business of stepping in. In 2011, Justice Scalia, in a majority decision 5-4, found that it was actually unconstitutional for the state of California to regulate the capacity of parents to be able to get these video games for their kids, or even for kids to get them themselves without parental permission. He saw that as a content violation under the First Amendment.
Without technology, we wouldn't have the survival rate we currently do from all forms of health issues. Most of us are alive today because of how far medicine has come due to technology, and we don't even know or properly appreciate it.
Billions of people, men, women, and children, are alive today because of life-saving, life-altering, and life-sustaining treatments that have emerged from curiosity-based research. Research that's been conducted here and throughout the world.
Today, we have treatments for countless life-threatening illnesses. With breathtaking advances in gene editing and tissue engineering, we're on the cusp of developing therapies for intractable diseases. And with collaborators from around the world, we're working to combat contagious diseases that know no borders.
The work that originated in these cluttered labs probing the very fundamentals of life, have stimulated new therapies that we now take for granted.
Is technology as bad as we really think it is? In my opinion, after comparing both sides, I don't think so, as ultimately it's down to the individual to decide if they subject themselves to it or not. The majority of adults are in complete control of themselves and responsible for their own well-being. If they aren't, they will usually have a capable carer to help them stay fit and healthy. So we can't blame technology for our shortcomings when it comes to decision making. That's a human fault and not technological.